So tonight, Elevate Learning with Brainingcamp. We have myself, Kara Reen, and Ryan Doherty. I thought maybe we'd take just a minute or two to each introduce ourselves. My name is Mark Schmidt. I'm a former middle school math teacher. Since 2000, I've been in the either content development or product development areas, whether it's developing content for publishers or my own content. And I have now been with Brainingcamp, I think coming up on about 3 years. So thank you. I really am glad to be here tonight.
Kara, why don't you go next?
Okay. I am Kara Reen, and I am a former pre-K kinder, 3rd and 4th grade teacher. And then I was a math specialist for a K-5 school. And then I became kind of like a math specialist coach-ish for a district level here in Texas. And then I found Brainingcamp and fell in love with it and thought, my goodness, I just wish so many more people could learn about this and love it like I did. And so that's how I found myself here.
All right. And sorry, I'm writing down names for people who are having little bit of issues here. And my name is Ryan Doherty. I'm the sales director at Brainingcamp. I have been here. Tomorrow is my 3-year anniversary. And I'm a former elementary school teacher. I'm a former math coach for a district outside Charlotte. I've helped write standards, and I've helped write, assessments and tons of different education things. But I have been here at Brainingcamp for the last 3 years and absolutely love it. Yeah. Happy almost anniversary. I got 6 more hours and it'd be a
I'll call you. All right. I'm going to stop sharing, Ryan, and then
perfect.
It's all you.
Okay. Let me make sure I get the right one. Okay. So my job this morning or this afternoon right now is to kind of show you some of the items that we have added to Brainingcamp and over the last couple months. We were going to do just the most recent ones, but from some of our conversations that we've had with customers over the last couple months, we thought, you know what, let's go through and really kind of highlight all the really cool things that we have. So it does not matter what manipulative you sign in on. The things that I'm going to show you are on every single one of them. All 17 have these tools. And so you can follow along with me. I'm going to use color tiles, just my go-to. And what I want to look at is when you when you click on one of our pages and you see the manipulatives here, I really want to focus on this manipulative tray over here on this side. Because most people see the manipulative tray and think, oh, this is great, I have all my manipulatives here. But what they're missing is these 2 boxes at the top. These are kind of subdivisions and sub-tools that are available to you. So this first one right here with the T, we call this our text and shape. And here's where you can drag out text. This has gotten a little bit of a update here. It looks a little bit nicer when you type in things. And you can add text to your screen, questions, directions, anything like that. It can be moved around to wherever you need it to go. It can be clicked on and re-edited if you want. So that's a great spot for it right there. Going down the line here, this is a fraction tool. When you type, if you were typing in here and I wanted to type the fraction 1/2, it automatically does that slanted fraction. And we didn't like that. We wanted to have a chance to be able to write a vertical fraction. So that's what this tool is right here. What you need to do, though, is click on, once you have it out on the page, click on it again, click on the numerator and say, my numerator is 1. And then click on the denominator and say my numerator or my denominator is 2. And then it becomes 1/2. And if you click on the whole thing, you can see down here on the bottom, I can change the size of it. I can change the color of it. So you have some options to how you had that fraction, but we wanted to have that vertical fraction piece in case you did not like we don't like having the horizontal fractions here. These shapes here, they've been here for a while, different shapes. Recently added, I think it was on Friday, we have added a triangle. And the triangle shape comes out just like all the other ones. You have these tiny little squares on the edges, just like anything else, like any computer program you use. That can be shaped, that can be moved around. It should try to, when you get about to 90 degrees, you see how it kind of snaps into place. We're trying to get the best that we can. We're not quite sure. We don't want to make sure that it always goes to that, but we want to give you that option of making that triangle look however you want. All of these items, all these shapes, all of these arrows, and this is a line right here. It's not a divider. It is a line that you can draw. When you drag them out, you see on the bottom, I have all these colors that I can choose from. I have a thickness that I can do. The shapes here, all the squares and circles and triangles, I can change the fill, and that's going to fill the triangle up. I can change, let me turn that off. I can change the line color, and I can make that whatever I want. And then the plus and minus is going to change the thickness of that line. So you can really play around with these shapes and make some really cool designs and pages with them. So those are some of the new things here. This fraction tool and the triangle are the two newest on that page, and where you do the colors. So that is the middle set of tools there. On the third set, and we call these, Kara, help me out again, learning tools. These are called learning tools. And when you click on here, you have a whole bunch of options. You have a 5-frame, you have a 10-frame, and then you have this array of any size. And this one comes out, and I can just grab that corner like I did the triangle and make it be whatever I want. And then just like all of our other tools, here, these blue buttons, when you click on it, I could turn the labels off, I could rotate it. And so you have all these, all the tools to make the page look however you want. Those are old, those have been there a while. But every page now has a number line. And this number line comes out. It looks a little different depending on the manipulative you're working on. Because I'm on color tiles, that's why that's the length that it is, right? If I was on fraction tiles, and you'll see that when I do fractions later, that this number line is going to look a little bit different. But again, it's an object. You can rotate it so it goes vertically. You can change the starting number. Maybe I don't want to start at 0. Maybe I have to start at 100. I just click that. When I click off of it, the whole number line changes for me. I can also take this and extend it and make it, larger. If I wanted to, let me actually reset this to be 0, to start at 0. For the upper grades, if I need to go into my negative numbers, I can do that as well. So every manipulative has a number line on it. One of my favorite new tools is this we call it the cover tool. And it comes out and it adjusts to whatever you want to cover up. So if I wanted to cover this, I can do that. And then when I click on it, it reveals what's behind there. And, you can hide answers. You can hide questions. Mark had an activity. I don't know if he's going to show it tonight. I don't want to ruin it, but it was kind of a memory type of game, right? That you would, there's a bunch of squares there. You click on one, see what's behind it, and try to match it. So that's a really nice tool there. Another recent addition is our number bond. So we know many programs have this number bond tool in it. You can click on this, again, adjust the size. I can rotate it. So maybe I wanted to have one that goes, I guess I would say down, left or right. But you can rotate it, you can copy it, have a bunch of them on the page. You can then add numbers or manipulatives inside of that as well. So that's a more recent one. But the most recent that came on, can you add, what's the question? Can you add more than 2 parts in the number bond? Not with this one, not yet. What you could do if you needed one is pull that one out and then go back and then just kind of readjust that circle and that line. So if you wanted to have a 3-part one, you could do that. It's not great, but it was off the cuff there. So, but the most recent one, the most recent tool that we have, and this was added on Friday, is a number path. And our number path comes out 1 to 10. What's really cool is you can click on it and the numbers will go away, or I can click on the blanks and the numbers come back. I can add manipulatives to it, and they kind of they're actually behind it right now. The number path is above it, but I can add manipulatives. I can click on it and have my 5s shaded. So here 1 to 5 is shaded. If I click this one, it's 6 to 10 is shaded. I can, again, like the number line, I can change it to start with any number I want. This one will bring it forward and back. So right now the number path is above the manipulatives, but if I send it to the back, it'll bring the manipulatives on top. And I can reverse that here and bring it to the front. If I needed a longer number line, just like before, I can click on this and drag that out. And you notice here, let me kind of scroll here, that patterning in the gray goes between white and gray every 5 numbers, and I can change that to the liking that I want, or I can have it all the way off. So, all right, I think that is most of the ones. So I got one more, and this kind of goes for everything here. If you are used to seeing, when you come into Brainingcamp, if you are used to seeing down here, oh, my screen is too big. Down here, there was a button that said settings. If you're used to seeing the settings, we have moved those up here above the pens. Maybe this one wasn't the best one to look at. I'll use base 10 blocks. So now you have all your settings right here. So if I wanted to change it from one color to multicolored, or change what labels I see, or what I see in my bin, you can have all those tools always out, always available to you. So, all right, before I move on, Mark or Kara, I'm seeing a lot of things in the chat about codes not working and things like that. My guess is if you already have a trial and you are trying to use that redeem code on the main page, it's not letting you because you already have a trial. What I need you to do is sign in and then click here and then enter the code there. It should update it. If it doesn't, I'm going to give you my email at the end. Send me an email and I will manually go back and update everybody and give you that the code that you're supposed to through October 31st.
Yeah, and if that doesn't work, they can. I've been putting the support email in the chat because
Jennifer said it worked. Signing in first and then doing.
All right, cool.
Probably awesome. What was happening. Yeah, perfect. Support at Brainingcamp too. Send us an email and we will adjust it on our end to make sure you get that free trial. So Kara, I'm going to hand it over to you.
All right.
Show how to use some of this stuff.
Okay, so I also had a question. Someone asked how to, let me get my, okay, can you all see that okay? Okay, I'm going to talk about share codes for a little bit. Someone said, I would like to be able to share a task that I've already created. So a share code is a task or an activity that you create and save. And then the share code is kind of how we save it. You're going to create it, and then it's going to create an 8-character code that's going to save the task. And then students can either share it back with you by creating their own share code or by copying or downloading an image of some sort. They are going to be unique copy of the code of the original, but they are not something you can work on all together. They also need to be saved by you internally because of the way our system is set up. You know, we don't know that Mark created this share code. So once you have the share code, find a way to store them either on a Google document, or maybe you want to share them so your school, gets together and creates one. So I'm going to kind of show you just quickly how you can do that. Let's go into linking cubes. So Ryan,
Kara, can I interrupt just for a second? Sorry.
Sure can.
Sorry, I apologize. Folks, you'll notice in the chat, my bad for not mentioning this earlier, we have set up a Google folder that you should have access to where there's some resources in there. So hopefully you should be able to access that, and there's information and things in there. So there we go. Sorry, Kara.
Thank you so much. No, that's okay. So if you want to create a share code, so maybe I want my students, we've had a lot of people asking about early childhood, and so you could say count how many, like this is the activity I want to create. Notice that I use the text feature down here at the bottom above our tray is kind of settings. And so that's going to pop up when you have an object on the screen that can be adjusted. For example, I can create this and make the text bigger. I can make it bold. I can change the color. And then in order to center it, I can drag it out or I can align it here just like that. So I want to say count how many. And let's just say, I'm going to drag out here and I'm going to put 4. And then I'm going to put a text shape here because I want my students to know that this is where you're going to answer the question. So I might, again, see these pop up here. I can change the fill. Obviously, I don't want it to be black, but I can change the line to match so they know which color. Again, be sure you know that you can click to rapidly add things to the screen. So once I set my, where I want my object to go, I can click to rapidly add that to the screen. This time I can just copy and paste a shape. That was another question that was asked in the chat. So can I make multiple copies of the same shape? There are these objects up here where I can copy, delete, send to the back, or lock. And so here, let's just say I want to change the color there. I could even say, you know what, I want them to show me on, to use a number line for this one, and I want them to show me on a 10 frame how they got that answer. So anything like that can be done. So let's just say I want the students to have this. I also want to point out, so let's just say you are working with students that really are having trouble with one-to-one correspondence, or maybe you want them to be able to check their work. Down here at the bottom for linking cubes, one of our options is groups. And so if I turn this on, I'm able to see the digit above the group that I have so that the students can kind of check their work there. And that's just something that you could do to kind of enhance or help those that need it. But up here in the right-hand corner, you see a share button. So this is where I'm going to find all of those types of things where I can share, copy. When I click share, you get 4 options: share code, live, copy, and download. When I click share code, this is going to create an 8-digit code for me or a link. So send someone a copy through a share code or a link. So if I click that, this now is going to give you a link or a code. Again, you want to save these. You can copy to the clipboard. Once I've copied it to the clipboard, if let's say my students are in front of me, I can make it bigger if I want them to put this in on the home page. So I'm going to go ahead and just paste this share code because I just copied it, and all I'm doing is copy paste. So if you'd like to try it with me, if you have Brainingcamp open and you're getting to work with me, when you go to Brainingcamp and you go back to the home page, you have this share code button in the top, and it has a place to enter the 8-digit code. So you want to make sure it says 8 out of 8 because that's going to be, where you're going to be entering it. And that's if it's not 8 characters, it won't go. Then you press go, and it's going to take me to that copy of what I just created. So that is how you create a share code. And that is also how you can save your share codes. So for example, I might have go to my own little document and say, I created one for count how many. I would align it to the standard that I want it to so that I can use it for the next time. But how do your students share it back with you? So once they've completed, again, this is their own copy. This is like passing out something to each one of your students. They're getting their own copy of this. In no way is it going to affect the original share code. So if the student says, okay, I see 4 here and 10 here, and they can say, obviously your students might not be If they're this little, they could say, well, I came and, oops, excuse me, put this over here to count. And if I come here and I drag this over, you can see those, it highlights inside. So when I do that, it's going to drop it into the 10 frame. So that's kind of a neat feature. So now my student wants to share this back with me. They have, finished their work, completed their work. They can create a share code and they can send it back to you. But if you're a student or if you're a teacher and you have a bunch of students, maybe this is something at home, you don't want to have to open each one of these to check their work. We suggest pasting it, copying it, and pasting it somewhere that you have like a learning management system. So for example, if you were in Google Slides or you're in Seesaw or Nearpod, anywhere you want to copy paste an image. So I can copy this image, and again, it's copied to my clipboard, and I'm just going to example, yes, Schoology, I believe you can, as long as you can copy paste into those things, you're able to do so. So for example, I set up a Google Slide document. Maybe I want the students to enter their name when they get here, and then all I have to do is right click and paste, and now I have the copy of that image of that student's work ready to go. And then if, I could assign them all a slide number to put it on, or they can just change where it says student name. So it's kind of really depending on like how you have it set up, how you would like that all to go. But that is how to create a share code. So when I'm here, again, I'm going to just kind of show you that it didn't change. I created that share code and I didn't change it. I'm going to copy it and paste it again. So that's that same share code, and it's setting it up just like I had it before. So that's kind of how to create a share code. That's how your students can share it back with you. And now you're ready to go. So Ryan kind of showed you a bunch of really cool new tools that we've come out with: number paths, number bonds, our number lines, cover tools. So I kind of wanted to show you once you create a task and code, year after year, Christy, as long as you have a license to Brainingcamp, it will work. So you can use it as long as you have a license in Brainingcamp. Good question. Thank you. So once I come here, let's just say I'm going to enter. So these are kind of ones that I already created, and I wanted you to see this because I want you to kind of get some ideas on things that you can do. So this is kind of a K2. Maybe I want them to work on a word problem, and I want them to show multiple representations of that word problem. So if I come in here and put this, you'll notice I have the number path. That's new to us. If I want those fives to be our benchmarks of 5 highlighted, I can put those on. So Lainey hit the ball 6 times. So I can place those there. Lewis hit the ball 3 times. How many times did they hit the ball in all? I can see that 9 is showing, and so there's 9 there. Now, with my number bond, maybe I want the students to show what they did. So I could say, I put a 6 with my pen tool and a 3. Actually, I'm going to erase this because I want it to match the color that I used here. And then here I can just say 9. But again, this is kind of multiple representations of the same problem. And sometimes it's helpful for our students to see something more than once with each one. So here I'm going to do 6 and 3 again. And then it's also helpful to have some kind of like definition, or especially for your younger students, like a sentence for the students to be able to read back to you. They hit the ball 9 times in all. So this is kind of using those tools that Ryan just showed you in a particular way. And this is using the color tiles. And again, just to kind of show you some things that you might not know that this can do. Let's just say I have 6 out here. Oops. too many times, too many clicks. I can turn on my labels for my workspace to see how many there are. And I can turn on my groups. So again, this is a really good way for our students to be able to kind of see like a bar diagram or a strip diagram, but also to see that quantity right above what they're looking at. And so this can be done with arrays, area models. When you get into older grade levels, you can do the same thing. But I also wanted to point out that when you select an object, you can make sure you check out these selection options, because you can copy it, delete it. Let's say I want to toggle the color or the fill. So those are just some different options that you can do. How do the groups work? So once the groups are there, so if I have these separated, once they're together, if I pull them apart, down here it says labels right above. And this is where you really want to kind of click around and play. Down here is your settings for each manipulative, and they're all different. So some will have a bunch, some will have a few, depending on what manipulative you are in. So again, I can turn on my labels. If I turn on my group labels, now you can see those group labels popping up there. I think that was the question. So that's again, these are really important settings in any manipulative that you go to. So again, this is just a really quick way to show, a couple of those things. This was another one that I was going to show using some of the tools that Ryan was talking about. And this one's our cover tool one that I love. So this is 10 frame addition within 5. So this is for your younger babies. It says player 1. So this can be an activity that you do in a workstation between 2 students. Player 1's going to choose an eye to uncover and place that many yellow counters on the 10 frame, and then enter the yellow number in the text box. And then you're going to choose an eye to uncover the second child. So again, this can be done in workstations. These activities can be done, however you usually do them. So let's just say this child picked 5. So I'm going to put 5 on the board. And then this one chose 0, but that's no fun. So let's do 2. And then it says to come change this number. So the child would click on this box, change the number. Oops. And then we can add them up to say, oh, that's 7. So this is, again, just 10 frame addition. This actually should say within 10, not within 5. But this is kind of that idea, just to give you some ideas of how you can use the tools, the 10 frame, the cover animation tools, the shapes, to make some really neat kind of ways that your students can use this. I'm going to show y'all maybe one more. So this is, again, with one of our new tools, the triangle. So I was, always when I was creating things like first little ones, I was creating houses, or I was creating little pictures. Students now can go and create all these kind of fun things. Now that we have the triangle tool, but it also is really helpful if you're trying to teach equilateral and scalene and isosceles, and you're trying to show the difference between those things. But here is the triangle share code. Whoops. So see, I did not copy it right. And I'm glad that happened, because sometimes every now and then when you copy paste from somewhere else, it'll leave like a little blank space right at the beginning. If that happens, just backspace. Now I have 7 characters. And so I'm going to go find, I'm missing my 4 at the end. And here is the new share code. And then if I press go, triangles in the real world. And the reason I wanted to show this one was because obviously we don't have, shapes and things, like we don't have a bunch of different like copy paste options like where you can get it, but I can make a donut, I can make a pizza, I can make a door and a sailboat and a football, all with the shapes that I have. And so I just kind of wanted to kind of show this one to you. Also, be sure to check out the tasks, and you can kind of see what you'll be able to create eventually. So, but this is, the triangles in the real world. And again, just with using the triangle tool and then changing my, how thick I want the lines, the fill, so you can kind of do this. Where Mark just put in the link to the tasks. So you can create a bunch of share codes. You can do it however you want. There's for center purposes. They're tasks that you can have your students come back to. There are things that you can show parents. They're kind of endless. So you can, be creative when you're thinking about how to use these. When you come back to the home page, we already have like 300 tasks created. And if you click on resources, right here in the middle is tasks. So you can sort by grade and by domain. So whatever you happen to be working with, be sure to check out, like if, I'm going to start my geometry unit. I wonder if there's anything, or I'm going to start my counting and cardinality unit. I want to see what I can do there. So here, if I click on the task and I go to a 2-page view, I just want you to be able to see, not only do you get the amazing share code right here and an image of what the task might be, but this is great for questions that we want our students to be able to respond to and answer and explain. So often our kids are saying, did I get it right? I don't get it. Or they just spit out answers, or help me, I can't get to the next step. So these questions are there to kind of help us as teachers, not just say, oh, here's the answer, or think again, but something a little bit more that would get them ready to kind of thinking. So this right here is a launch. This is before you give the task. They're kind of activating prior knowledge. We're getting ready for the task. During the task, it gives a description, but also questions to ask, again, to kind of get them thinking and to know where to go next. You also have this misconception box. So if you think that your students might have a misconception, you can check this box out and it'll kind of cover something and give you an idea of how to address that. And you also have math talks. These can be used for journal prompts. Maybe you're starting your lesson the next day and you want to remind them of the task they did the day before. Again, different things that you can do. Maybe it's just a question you send home to have a conversation with their parents that night. I mean, this is just, the ideas are endless here. And we also have this little extension piece on the side, and also some different manipulatives that you can use with the same task. So it kind of gives you some different ideas and some different math practices as well. Okay, Ryan, you are up.
All right. So if you are following along, I took the wrong page. If you are following along in that document that Mark shared, we are moving on to the 3rd through 5th grade section here. And just like Kara did, I made a couple share codes. They are in that document. They are linked and already hyperlinked. So you can either copy the code or click on the hyperlink and it'll open. The first one I am going to do, and I'll post it in here. I'm going to post the chat in the code in the chat right now. And then I'm going to put it in my share code box. This is going to be adding fractions with like denominators on a number line. And what I want to show you is just kind of how I go through some of the process of doing things. Now, this page is not definitely how I would put this to the kids, right? But I've selected the rainbow fraction tiles, and I've left it on as fractions. And what I wanted to do is share like denominators. So I pulled out my fraction tool that I showed you earlier, and I made 4 6 plus 1 6 equals an unknown 6th, right? Then just in my head, these are the problems that I wanted to use. What I wanted to show you was a quick way to do this. I'm going to take this entire equation, and I'm just going to highlight it in a box, and then I'm going to copy it. And now when I bring it over here, I can then click off of it and edit this to say, well, this is going to be 2 tenths. And this is going to be an unknown, so I'll delete that. And this is going to be tenths. And then I need this one to be 7 and this one to be 10. I want to show you just how easy it is to do that, right? Because now I don't have to go back and keep pulling out the tools and doing all that stuff, because I can just take what I want, copy it, and then edit it. And now I want to put that back here. So I'm going to do the same thing for this next problem one more time so you can see it. I want it to be fourths. I copy that. I don't want that answer, so I just delete it, leave it blank. This will be fourths. This will be 3 and fourths. Oop, click on it, right? And then this is 6 and fourths, right? So this is the part, what I wanted to share with you is how fast and how easy it is that you can take something that you already have and then just copy it and use it to make your problems a little bit easier, right? The other thing I wanted to share with you on this one is I told you our number line comes out a little bit different depending on the manipulative. So if I were to pull out my number line, remember it's on every single manipulative, it comes out as 0 to 1 because this manipulative, this is 1. If we did 1 to 10, it would go off the screen, right? So I want to share, or I want to show you how I would solve this 4/6 plus 1/6. Now, obviously, I could take these pieces here and put them on the number line, but it's not going to show me the divisions that I want inside that number line. So what I do is I click on the number line itself. I have tools up here that I can adjust it, but this little slider down here, this is the key to doing this activity. When I slide this, it changes the fractions that I have. So I need this to be 6th. So when I slide this over to 6, now my entire number line has been marked 6. The other ones haven't because I didn't select it. Now when I pull this out, I can say I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 plus 1/6. The kids can come in here and answer that and say it's 5/6, right? And then it'd be able to share it back like Kara showed you. Down on the next one, I just click on it. This one is in tenths, so I want to change it to be in tenths. I can go up to 12ths. It only does the ones that we have on this screen right now. There's other ones that you can do more. I'll show you that in a second. But here, tenths, again, real quick, there's 1/10, 2/10. Now, how many do I have to add to get to 7/10? So I'm trying to get to here. How many more do I need to add? Well, we could drag them out one at a time, or I could click 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I need to add 5/10. So 2/10 plus 5/10. But this last one is fourths. Now, I was playing around with this one when I was getting ready for this and looking at this, a couple different things you could do with it, right? First off, we could show commutative property pretty easily, right? Because on this one, we have that unknown as the second addend, right? I could take this and just move that over here and take the plus sign, move it over here. And, I could move it around however I need it to look. So if my kids are more familiar with 3/4 plus what equals 6/4, we could do that. Or if I want them to see the problem like, hey, maybe you don't know what you're starting with. So you can play around with that pretty easily. I have this marked at fourths, and obviously if you look at this and you solve it, you're going to see that it's 3/4 plus 3/4 is 6/4. Well, the issue ends up being here when I go 1, 2, 3. If I want to add 3 more fourths, I'm going off my number line. But if you remember what I said when I was showing it to you, I can stretch this out and I can get it up to 2 or 3 or 4. And now I can say there's 3, there's 3 more. I am at 6/4, right? I could then, if I wanted to, show that, hey, I have a fraction greater than 1. I need to change that around. And the standard way to do that is how many times does 4 go into 6? Well, there's 1 with 2 left over, and then it's fourths, 2/4, and then you have to reduce it. That's a lot of work for kids. Or what I could do is use these manipulatives and say, you know what? That's 1. So this is 1 and 2/4. And if I wanted to make it even simpler, I could say that's 1 1/2. And I can show them what we're doing to go from 6/4 down to the mixed number of 1 1/2, all using these number lines. All right. Moving on to the next one. This is always a tough one. I'll put the Copy it, put that code back in here in the chat. If you want to do this with me, this is dividing fractions by unit numbers, or by unit, dividing whole numbers by unit fractions. Got to get it right. So here we have two problems. And the other thing I want to show you is a good use for that cover tool. I don't want my kids looking at the second problem just yet. So I'm going to cover it. I'm just going to cover it up, blank it out, right? So James had 3 cups of sugar. If he uses a half a cup of sugar to make a glass of sweet tea, how many glasses of tea can he make? So this is really 3 whole number divided by 1/2 unit fraction. So I dragged out my number line, made it 3. I could use that same thing, kind of blends into that one a little bit. Let me pull that down. I could use this to say, well, I need to divide it into halves. So here I can make it equal halves, and then I can drag these halves out and see how many halves do I need to make 3 cups. So how much tea can I make with 3 cups of sugar? You can make 6 glasses of tea. Right? And that's showing the whole number divided by a fraction. Conversely, I'm going to use this one here. This is the same problem, except I'm reversing it. Now I'm doing the unit fraction divided by a whole number. So here I have Nora has a half a pound of fudge, and she wants to share it with 3 of her friends. So she only has a half a pound of fudge. And I need to take this section right here and break it into 3 equal pieces. I need to divide that half into 3 equal pieces. I could play around with my manipulatives and try and see, well, 1/5, 2, 3, oh, that's not enough. That's not going to work. Or again, I can go back and use this little slider. And as I move it, what I'm looking for is, actually, let me put this 1/2 out here because I like to have this as a guide. I need to take this 1/2, and when I move this slider, it needs to be into 3 equal pieces. So thirds don't work, right? That's not even equal pieces. Fourths, well, it equals the half, but it's not in 3. Fifths, 3 pieces, but they're not equal. And then when I get to 6th, here we have 3 equal pieces. And now I can show the kids that 1/2 divided by 3 is going to be 1/6, right? You get 3 of those, and all I need is 1 of them. I love doing these 2 problems together because this is 3 divided by 1/2 and 1/2 divided by 3. Anytime you can have that connection, 4 divided by 1/8, 1/8 divided by 4. What they're going to find out is this answer ends up being 6. This answer ends up being 1/6. And then if it was 4, this number ends up being the whole number. This number ends up being the fraction. Having the kids play around with this and start making that like, hey, I'm starting to see this pattern. And we can start talking about, well, what happens when you take a large number and divide it by a number less than 1? Well, you end up getting more. And if you divide a fraction by a whole number, then you end up getting less. And we can start getting them to see how this is going to really happen in the real world. And when they start looking at the problems, they start knowing my numbers should be smaller or my number should be bigger, and they can start estimating their answer a little bit better. So the last thing I want to show, and I'm sorry, Mark, if I'm jumping on your, it's not in the notes, but I do want to show you the Cuisenaire rods, because I think Cuisenaire rods get overlooked for fractions a ton of times. And part of it is because there's 10 of them and they each have a value, and it's hard for kids to remember what each one of those values is. But because we're virtual, we can add labels to them. So if I change my workspace to fractions, these are all labeled in tenths because my whole is the orange piece. I have a number line that comes out and it's in tenths because that's what my whole is, right? I can say 3/10 plus 3/10, and I can do the same stuff on a number line like I've been showing you, right? So we can do that. But what if I don't want to add tenths? What if I want to add fourths? And Christy, I'm going to show you again down here where it says workspace. She said, how do you change workspaces? Down here in this bottom corner where it says workspace, I can go back to basic, whole numbers, decimals, fractions, letters, whatever I need it to be. But if I go back here to fractions, and this is only for the fraction one here. This is set as tenths, but if I want to change the whole, our settings down here allows me to click on that and say, you know what? I want the yellow one to be the whole. Well, now, not only do my fractions change down the side, my number line changes. Actually, let me change that. I want to make the green one the whole. So now my whole fraction, my number line changes, my fractions changes, everything else changes here. If I wanted to make eighths the whole, right? I can do that, and I can put it in simplest form. So now I have 1/2 instead of 2/4. So there's a lot of tools you can do, a lot of things you can do with fractions on the number lines and with the Cuisenaire rods. So a lot of fun. I definitely recommend going in there, playing around with it, seeing what you can do. And then the last one I'll show you is physical manipulatives top out at 10. They're a decimeter long. There's 10. We have this one here that's adjustable, and you can make it be whatever size you need it to be, right? So if I wanted to say 7/8 plus, well, let's change it here. 7/8 plus 7/8. Is I'm not doing the one that I wanted to do. Anyways, you can see that it's going to go over a hole, and you can show that this is going to be, that's why that's going to be the hole there. So 7/8 plus 7/8 is 14/8. Yeah, and it already reduced it because I haven't, that's why I have it on reduced form. So 14/8, but then I can show that, hey, that is 1 6/8. So, all right, that's my time. I'm going to hand it over to Mark. I know, I only gave him a couple minutes. I'm sorry, Mark.
Hey, that's all right. Any time spent on Cuisenaire rods is good time spent. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to probably go kind of quickly because I want to be respectful of everybody's time. I'm going to go to our document, our Google Doc. And since I think it was Ryan mentioned the money memory match, I'm going to put that, whoops, bear with me here. I'll put that in the chat. So put it in the share code box up here, and just quickly show you what we did with the using our new money app as well as the reveal tool or cover tool. So I created a memory match behind each of these. Let's say here's a quarter, and now I'm going to try to match. And well, I can do that math. Doesn't look like that one's going to match there, right? So this is something you could put in a center, right? Let's see, go here. There's, let's see, oops. So the share code is there for you to play around with. But like Ryan said, when he was working with the Cuisenaire rods, you got to get in there, you got to explore, get in there, play around, just like you would do, just like what you would do before you entered, when you give kids that exploration time. One thing I wanted to mention, we talked a lot about share codes. I'm going to share where I have all my share codes. I've created a spreadsheet. These are all my share codes. So I have them, I have access to them. And like Ryan said, or maybe Kara said, sorry, those are good for as long as you have a valid Brainingcamp license. So figure out some way to store those, share them with your colleagues. They're not tied to your account at all. All right. Let's see. So I was going to look at some 6/8 stuff, but let's see. I'm only going to take about a minute or two. I'm going to show adding integers. And full disclosure, at one point in my career, I did teach high school chemistry. So what you're going to see, I have not looked at the periodic chart to determine if these are actually if these atoms are actually part of the periodic table. But I always like to be a little unique and a little different. So and try to unique or sneak up on the kids and try to make something a little more interesting. So I created this yesterday. Atoms have a negatively charged electrons, positively charged protons. Find the charge of each atom. So what I did is I created these atoms and these rings and valence electrons and all that kind of good stuff, just using the shape tool, just using the circle. And I am in two color counters, but I'm also on the integer chips workspace. And I'll quickly go how these work. Now, if I want to find the sum here, I can take these. I'm going to take them out of there. And notice what happens when I put a positive and negative together. They create a zero pair. And now, whoops, if I grab these, I can put them over here. Another way I can complete a zero pair. And I get a little animation. Now I can see, hey, yeah, this one is has a charge of 0, has no charge, right? So again, tried to be a little creative and a little unique to just try and make things a little more interesting for kids and for you. So again, go in here. These are share codes are for you. We've only got a couple minutes, so I'm not going to go through many of them or any more of them. Well, I will share one more because I want us to think outside the box on how we might use these tools. And so I've created a couple of routines, those routines that we all live by as teachers, right? Things that, you know, they get kids started. This could be a 5-minute number sense routine, right? Created in the Numberline app using the open number line. Where could the following numbers be on the number line? Absolute value of 5, absolute value of -5. So again, just could be one of those routines. So it's not always, I'm going to say it doesn't always have to be for instructional purposes. So again, go in this document, take a look at those for 6, 8. There is one on ratio and proportions using Cuisenaire rods. Another really good use of Cuisenaire rods. If you're not familiar with Cuisenaire rods, get in there, play around with them. I will say that with Cuisenaire rods, it is critical. I'm use the word critical. I know that you allow kids to develop and understand that relationship between the rods themselves, right? Because nothing's going to make sense to them unless you've developed that relationship on how the rods are all related to one another. So I want to be respectful of everybody's time. I know it is, we are now at 6 o'clock our time. We really want to thank you for taking time this evening. I apologize in advance or I apologize for any difficulty you may have had redeeming the code. But it sounds or it looked like everybody got things resolved. So on the screen, you'll see our contact information. Please feel free to email any of us. You know, we're all former educators. We love to help out. If you access one of those share codes and you're not sure, thank you, Kara, for putting that in there. And you're not sure, email one of us. We will respond. We love it. This is why we do what we do.
We work here.
That's right. So again, we want to really thank you from the bottom of our hearts for taking time this evening, this morning, this afternoon, wherever you're at. We know how difficult and what a hard job teaching is.